This is Blanca with the Laws of Sex here with the main host, Dr. Stacy Friedman. How are you, Dr. Stacy?
I'm doing good. I am doing good. It's just another Thursday in quarantine, but I'm actually enjoying being home for a little while, getting stuff done. So doing okay. What about you?
You know what? I'm definitely getting a lot done. I'm getting a lot more creative, doing a lot more self-education, and I'm excited to talk about sex tonight. I'm excited what our topic is.
Well, today, if you look at our quote of the day, it'll give you a little hint as to what my topic is today. If you know Russell Brand, he is an actor. He used to date Katy Perry, and he's a little bit of a naughty boy. But anyway, he had a quote I found that it says, "I like threesomes with women, not because I'm a cynical sexual predator. Oh no, but because I'm a romantic. I'm looking for the one, and I'll find her more quickly if I audition two at one time."
Hello.
I thought that was very interesting and a very good way to audition for the love of his life.
Oh my God. That is so fun. Well,
So,
they say love is like an employment application, as I pointed out a little bit ago. I believe in that. I think it's a numbers game. I think that you have to meet as many people as possible, and then you have to weigh the pros and the cons, but there's never the perfect person. I don't think the perfect person exists. You have to give and take. What do you think?
absolutely. I think that it's important, like you said, to audition two at a time sometimes
Ah,
to make it a little easier. Not that exactly those exact words that you said, but I thought that Russell Brand said it really well. I think that a lot of people look for one person to fulfill all of their needs. And then they get into a marriage, whether it's, a man and a woman or two men, two women, whatever. And they expect their partner to be able to please all of their needs. And so that's why we have different types of lifestyles. We have polyamory, we have swinging, we have threesomes, we have open relationships, because I think people realize that that one person is not always going to be able
what's
to fulfill.
polyamory? Pardon my ignorance.
Excuse me?
What was the first one you talked about?
Polyamory?
Can you describe that?
Yes, polyamory is basically relationships with other people. So if you have, let's say you are married to a man and you're in a heterosexual relationship, and polyamory is basically when you find someone else, whether it be another man or another woman, and you fall in love, and you either bring that person into your relationship as a love partner, not just a threesome where it's all about sex.
Mhm.
Um, or the man might meet another man or maybe meet another woman. And so polyamory is just basically, amory is amorous, loving, and poly is more than one. So it's allowing your relationship to be open to loving others and not just about a sexual relationship.
Interesting. Interesting.
So, and
So
yeah.
I'm sorry, just I'm fascinated. All these different lifestyles, you believe that true love, long-term love can coexist with one of these, what I would refer to as an alternative lifestyle?
Oh, absolutely. And those are definitely some of the lifestyles that I want to talk about in some future laws of sex for sure. But I think that a lot of it has to do with trust, communication, finding your reasons why, and having two people with the same morals and ethics, and understanding, like I just mentioned, that not everybody could fulfill all of your needs. There's not going to be one person who could do everything for you.
I think that's a general rule in multiple scenarios, not just in love, but in business. And I think that it's an interesting approach. It's something definitely worth examining and exploring. So,
Right.
so take us further into this dialogue. What
Well,
I love this picture.
I thought it was a very cute picture. First of all, because purple is my favorite color and I'm stuck in the middle of two people, what could be better than that? So yeah, so I'm the purple one, and the green and the yellow could be whatever it wants to be.
There you
So
go.
That is my sexy subject, and we're talking about threesomes today.
Okay.
Uh,
So we got
threesome,
a bunch of different type, oh, you actually were gonna say that a lot of people ask a key question about threesomes, right?
yeah, well, there's a lot of different types of threesomes. You can have, a man and two women. You could have two men and one woman. You could have three men. You could have three women. You could have, I put other on this paper because people are non-binary and they don't necessarily follow one gender. So a threesome is just basically three people getting together, enjoying each other's company, and being able to have a fun sexual experience. And it doesn't necessarily matter who you are. If you're a consenting adult and you're enjoying it, you can have a good time. But that goes to the next one where I say there are very important questions to ask before you get into any type of alternative lifestyle, any type of threesome type of situation. And I think one of the main questions is why? Why do you want to get into this situation? Why do you want a threesome? What is it going to do for you? What is it going to do for your relationship? What is the purpose? Because you could very easily ruin your relationship if not done properly. I work with a lot of people that ask these questions, and I help guide them through to know the pros and cons and help figure it out.
So in your mind, I'm picking up on a very non-judgmental approach that you have. In other words, you believe that threesomes are okay and that they can be a complement to a monogamous loving relationship.
Not that I would know.
Yes, no one here is discussing their personal views. You're simply expressing as an objective sexual expert that's
I
published
believe
books.
that as a sex coach and as a sexologist, it is not my job to judge. It is my job to educate, to be able to offer each relationship a different guidance, because there's going to be some relationships that I'm going to say, listen, you want to try to make him jealous, so you want to have a threesome with two men, not a good idea. You want to try to enhance things. Okay, well, let's talk about that. You want to try to spice it up? Are you a jealous person? Are you willing to bring someone else into your bed? These are questions we have to ask. Why are we doing this?
That's so interesting. See, it's all about the why. If the why is for a negative reason, anything that you do with a negative why has got to have a negative outcome. It's never going to work. But if
Right,
there's
it's almost like saying, right, like, let's have a baby so we can try to, keep our relationship together. If you don't have a solid foundation, then doing anything outside of the marriage is not going to be healthy.
100% agree with that. 100%.
Right. So some of the questions that you might want to consider if you're discussing things, first of all, is find out your why. And then you want to say, okay, well, what does it look like? What does a threesome for us look like? Do we want a male? Do we want a female? Do we want someone who is non-binary or androgynous? What kind of a person are you looking for that you both may be attracted to? And that's one of the things that you can discuss and see where that conversation goes. Which
well,
then
that could be a massive deal breaker, because if that could be a huge deal breaker for either side.
oh, absolutely.
Treading on some very dangerous territory.
Right. And that's why I always say, if that is something that you've discussed with your partner, but you don't really know the route to go, that's what I help people with. I coach and I guide them to asking the right questions, to understanding the answers and maybe how to get past it. And if you say, oh, no, I don't want to do that, but why? Like, what is the why? Is it fear? Are you answering or acting out of fear? There's many women that may say, oh, well, I don't want a woman near my man. I'll only do a man, be with a man. But the man might be like, well, I'm not going to have a man in there. I want a woman. Or there's, those types of things. So it's important to make sure that you're on the same page when it comes to who you want as far as the gender.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Without a
Then,
doubt.
if you agree, then you can move on and say, well, what type of personality do we want? What type of a person do we want? Do we find people with blonde hair more attractive, brunettes, taller, shorter, heavier, thinner? What type of a personality? Do we want someone a little more shy that we can dominate? Do we want someone a little more aggressive that may take charge? Especially if you've never done it before, you may want someone who's used to threesomes that can take control. So those are some questions to ask also. Because it's not always about what the person looks like. Sometimes it's about the experience.
Interesting. I would never think personality traits would come into play because it seems like it's a short-term venture, but I guess it does.
I think absolutely, because even though it's a short-term venture, you want it to be fun. And if you have, let's say, a husband and a wife, the wife has never been in a threesome, let's say the husband has, just an example, and they want to bring in another woman. The wife has never been in a situation where there's another woman, but yet may want to try it. Maybe she's bi-curious, maybe she's interested. Let me see, wonder what it would be like to be with a woman. If she finds someone who's never been with a woman and is very shy herself, you're going to have these two women laying next to each other like, what do I do? Right? Do I touch your nipple? What do I do between your legs? Where's the penis? Oh, it's not there.
That's hilarious. No, you're right. Those are really good points.
It's not something you think to ask, but it's important, if depending on what kind of a person you want or what kind of experience you want to have someone who's maybe more experienced with a threesome, maybe someone who has never been in a threesome that you want to deflower. It all depends on that type of situation to make it an
Lose your
enjoyable
threesome
experience.
virginity.
Yeah, exactly. Pop their cherry. Another important thing is making sure that you're distinguishing between a friend or a stranger, because there's pros and cons to both. What would you think would be the most common?
Well, I would think that you'd go with a stranger because you'd want to be discreet and you wouldn't want people knowing your business, not to mention the fact that a friendship could get totally destroyed in this scenario. So why would you risk that? So much risk.
It can be, but the more common, more comfortable situation that more people want is having a friend.
They've got to be crazy. That doesn't sound like a very sound judgment, but that's
doesn't mean that's what always happens, but sometimes that's the more common to be with somebody that you know, because it's a little easier to get connected. But either way, there's pros and cons. Like you said, sometimes you invite a friend in. What if that friend gets close to your partner?
That's
what
right.
if something happens afterwards?
It all boils, yeah, there's a lot of levels of confidence, security,
trust.
So many elements that you're placing on that potential butcher block by testing the waters in this scenario. A high risk scenario indeed for a relationship.
It is testing the waters, and that's why I think it's very important to know your partner, to know their background, their experience, and why we're doing this. And also, as you go along, you're going to start talking about different scenarios. When we're all done with our live, I'm going to post an article that I was doing or that I was in the comments so people can read about what to look for when looking for another and what things to ask and what to do, so people get a little more specifics. But basically, there's a lot involved, and you can have a beautiful experience and you can really destroy a relationship. So it's very important to be able to have your boundaries, to know what questions to ask, to be able to say, okay, well, what if this happens?
Yeah.
What do I do?
I look forward to reading that article. Everything that you write is always so on point. So super excited to see that.
Another thing that you want to find out too is, because it's something where you're bringing someone else in, you want to know, where are we going to play? The first picture that's up there is a club. they have different types of swing clubs. And just because it's a swing club doesn't mean you're considered a swinger. It just means that you like the eroticism, and it's a good place where you're able to be in an area that is not your home or their home. It's, what's the word I'm looking for?
Neutral?
Neutral, thank you. It's a neutral space where everyone can be comfortable. Or if you have someone that you know or someone that you feel comfortable bringing into your home, you can do it in your home. But a lot of people like that neutral space because, or even a hotel.
Yeah, definitely. I think neutrality is super important. Keep it simple. Again, keep it low risk, keep it safe.
Right.
You don't, I mean, especially if you don't know them, why were you going to bring a stranger into your home?
Exactly.
You don't know. And not to mention the risks of being exposed to a sexual disease. I mean, that's another risk to the scenario, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But there's also rules. And just because it's a threesome doesn't necessarily mean you have to have sex either. You could always say you could do everything but intercourse, or you could do everything but oral, or whatever it is. I think it's important to set those boundaries ahead of time and use protection as well.
That's a good point.
So now, as far as some facts that have to do with threesomes, the Kinsey Institute is an institute where they do a lot of different studies about sexuality. It's been around for years. And there was a researcher at the Kinsey Institute that did a study. There was 4,175 American men, ages between 18 and 87, that said the threesome was the #1 fantasy of men.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that because that is something that people come in, and when we talk about fantasies, sometimes the women are like, all you talk about is bringing another woman in. I'm not with another woman, you know? So they do get into it sometimes in the office because of that fantasy.
Do they? They get up, you mean they get into a fight about it?
Well, sometimes they get into a little argument because, you know, then the woman will come back and say, well, then fine, you want a threesome, bring another man, you know? So there's all these things coming back and forth, but that is a very common #1 fantasy of men, is to be in a threesome. And it's usually another woman. So a man and 2 women is the usual fantasy.
Sure.
But do you know what the #1 reason why people want to have threesomes are?
No.
Click to find out.
Oh.
The #1 reason for wanting to have threesomes, curiosity. People are curious. Simple, right?
It's almost too simple. My gosh, you got me on that one.
It's basically something that's considered taboo, that people are just kind of like, what would it be like to have, you know, I know what it's like to have one person all over me, or, you know, one person taking care of me, or me taking care of one person. What would it be like just having hands and bodies and things everywhere?
Well, there you go. Could be interesting.
Could be very hot or could not, depending on the situation.
So there's a lot of different variables that could translate into your overall interpretation of the experience.
Right, and that goes back to asking the why and having the communication to make sure that you have a positive experience. In the Kinsey Institute, they did another study where they said that women were evaluated more negatively than men for those women who participated in threesomes. And then it's a double standard because men were also rated lower if they had a threesome with 2 men and a woman than if they were just with 2 women. So there's a couple double standards there. So for women, if someone finds out that a woman had a threesome, they're looked at as cheap or slutty, or, you know, not as classy as someone who has not.
Wow.
And for men, if they have a threesome with 2 men, they look at them as like, compared to, yeah, you got 2 women, all right.
It's we live in a very judgmental society. But at the end of the day, my law of sex is you should do whatever you want. And it's no one's business. And you're better off just simply not sharing your personal preferences and just having those dialogues with your partner and no one else, and then you won't be judged.
All about what you're doing with that other partner. It's not important for other people, but it's just, if you're enjoying yourself and you're having a good time, it shouldn't matter. But it can be a double standard. So as a matter of fact, I had a question, which on the Ask Dr. Stacy page, they asked me, they said, my husband wants a threesome with another man, and I'm not sure if I do, but our relationship could use some spicing up. I'm wondering if I should go for it. He has always wanted to watch me with another man, so I also wonder if he may be gay. So I thought this was a good question, because there it goes right back to a little bit of that double standard, that if a man is in a threesome with another man, they're assumed to be gay. And if you say, even if they are bisexual, a lot of people think that there's like, oh, well, they're not bisexual. Any man who wants another man is gay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're, there's no bisexual in the men's world. But there is. On the Kinsey Institute and the Kinsey scale, you have heterosexual, homosexual, and then there's a huge line. So there's parts all over that spectrum.
Yeah.
So just because you're in a threesome with two men and a woman, so this is hopefully answering this person's question, does not mean that they're gay, because you're also going to check with them what they want to do. Because a lot of people, just because they are in a threesome with two men and a woman, they want nothing to do with the other man. But a lot of men get turned on by watching their woman have sex with another man.
No, so what do you, if a woman expressed concern and said she wanted to break up with the man just because he made this request, what would your advice to her be?
I think to break up over a request or get into a fight over a request, how are you going to know unless you're able to express your fantasies to your partner? Now, the fact that she asked, I am not sure if I do, meaning I'm not sure if I want to have a threesome. You don't want to do it just to spice it up. You want to do it if you want to do it, if you feel comfortable. So if she said he wants a threesome with another man because we could use some spicing up, should I go for it? I might say, well, sure, let's talk about it. But because she said, I'm not sure if I do, and she's thinking he might be gay, she's kind of hesitant about things.
Yeah, she's coming in from a negative point of view. But I mean, it is natural because,
right.
After speaking to many men, most heterosexual men have advised me that, they can't even watch a movie with men that are gay. A lot of heterosexual men have told me that. And for the record, I love all people, regardless of their sexual preference. I truly don't care. But a lot of heterosexual men have told me that, which would lead me to the conclusion that if a man said he wanted to be in bed with another man, that there would be a predisposition to him being bisexual or gay. Do you think that's true?
If the man said they wanted to be involved, involved with the man. But majority, or a lot of them, which there's nothing wrong if they want to be involved with the man. That's something to discuss. Same thing if a woman wanted to be involved with the woman. But a lot of them like to watch their woman partner, be intimate or sexual with another man. So if you're in a threesome with two men and a woman, and your husband just wants the man there because he wants to be with you also, but also watch this other man be with you, but yet no touching is involved with the two men, it has nothing to do with him being gay. That means he's confident in his sexuality and he gets turned on by watching other men with his wife or his girlfriend, which is very, very common.
Fair enough. I've never actually heard that fantasy, so that's different.
Very common.
But I guess everyone has their ideas.
Everyone's got their thing. So one of the other things I want to talk about a little bit is just the toys that are going to be very helpful in these types of situations. So for my Toy Talk Thursday, we are still in quarantine, so I'm still using the code COVID-19 for 20% off of any of these items. But the vibrating cock rings are great because a lot of times men may have concerns when there's somebody else there, whether it be a man or a woman, of lasting, of maintaining an erection. And there are a lot of people in the lifestyle that have to take medication just to be able to help perform, because it's not necessarily about making love at the time, you know, where you're trying to be intimate. It's more about having sex and having fun. So sometimes their head is not necessarily connected to their other head. So these vibrating cock rings could be very helpful to help keep the tightness in the penis. You just put it on with some lube. It helps keep the penis erect. And the little vibration can help also with hitting on the clit for the woman when you're having sex. So a cock ring can be very helpful for people that are in the lifestyle or trying to do things that maybe they might be distracted with. And another one is, I actually have it here. I just opened the box from it. And it is called the wand. And what's nice about this is that sometimes there is so much pressure of trying to please. There's hands everywhere and you're trying to please all these people. Sometimes it's nice when you're being, yeah, it's true though, because your hands are all over the place. If you're sitting there making out with one and you're having sex with another, and then you have a hand that you don't know what to do with, sometimes you can just hold the hand sideways and just touch someone's clit with it. And that way you're not having to like, oh, see, I got all distracted and I just dropped my toy. Hold on a second.
Hey,
But that's what happens.
But you know what? It doesn't break, guys. It doesn't break. So
no, it didn't break.
It's okay too. No problem.
Yeah, no, and it's flexible and it's fun and it's got little nubbies on it too. So
That's
I don't even know how to turn it off.
It's a good looking piece of equipment.
So yeah, so this is something fun to bring in. Now this next one I think is very important that I tell people to try if they are unsure if they actually want a threesome with another male. This is a suction cup dong. And what's important is for people that don't really feel comfortable bringing another male in, but kind of want that experience, you can suction that to a bathtub, to a toilet bowl, to a floor, to a dresser, to a mirror facing outside to the parking lot.
Who thinks of this stuff?
I know, I do. But you can use it for an example of how it would feel like if your man might be more intimidated, if you would like having another male. So that way, let's say you're sitting on it while you're doing something to your male partner.
Got
It gives you the experience of a threesome in a way. See what it's like to have another penis around.
Listen, I think it's good. I think it's good to get creative. Nothing wrong with that. Creativity
is great. So basically, those are some ideas of what you can do to make it fun, to make it, special. And I think that one of my laws of sex is basically saying that 3 can be a crowd if you don't plan it right. So you want to make sure you use the rules, focus on your communication and your boundaries, and then have a great time and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. I think that's going to be one of the most important things.
I love it. I think that is so special and so important.
Yeah.
So and don't let anybody judge you. Do what you want.
Absolutely. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. You could also download, I have a book that you can go to drstacyfriedman.com and you can download it for free, or you can get it on paperback. So it's on the book link. It's very easy to access. And anyone that needs some help going into a threesome, having any questions about threesomes, wanting to know if your relationship is right to move forward with a threesome, that's what I'm here for, because my passion is to help you create yours. And if that involves a threesome, then so be it.
That is so awesome. And I love your approach to sex. And that was actually a big lesson for me tonight. That was a real relief for me, is that people can feel really comfortable talking about sex with you being a sexologist, a sex coach, and that there should be no judgment, but a discussion as to the why to create the most passion and satisfaction in your life.
Absolutely. And you should feel okay going to your partner and being able to ask or talk about a fantasy. Doesn't mean you have to act on it, which is why I brought up that suction cup, because there's ways around things to be able to spice it up and maybe take advantage of some of your fantasies, but maybe tweak it a little bit.
So if you're having trouble working through an issue, talking through an issue about your sex life, consider consulting with Dr. Stacy Friedman. Dr. Stacy can be reached at 561-899-7669, or drstacyfriedman.com is her website or her email. You can also find her on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And what can I say? Dr. Stacy Friedman, speaking about sex with you is always a pleasure.
That sounds good.
Everybody, have a wonderful night, and keep us watching us every Thursday night at 7 o'clock on the Laws of Sex.
We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.